Greetings, welcome to Into the Text, and today we're going to be talking about Paul, and did he really rebuke Peter? I don't think so, and I'm going to explain why now. Did Paul really rebuke Peter? Let's take a look at the scriptures and let's find out, all right? The verse in question is this. We got Galatians 2:11 right here. Paul rebukes Peter. Okay? But when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face. All right? So Cephas, where do we get this name? Let's go take a look. All right? If we go back to John, when Simon meets Jesus, Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You'll be called Cephas." So that makes sense, right? Cephas, which translates Peter. When we look at this, Cephas and Peter both mean rock. Cephas is the Aramaic rendering, and Petros is, or Peter, is the Greek rendering. So I'll show you this right now. Okay, so right here, if we look at Cephas, I'll pull this up here. Let me go Cephas. I click here. We'll do a word study. Let me pull this over here. All right, Cephas, right here. Oh, okay, that didn't work. But, okay. So, Cephas. Pull that out. Which is translated Peter. Petros. All right, do a study here. Everything's going over here. Let me pull it over. Peter. Petros. All right. If we go into other verses, let's hear. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter. Peter. Petros, right here. Right. James and John, the brother of James. If we go look in Acts, when Peter stood up with the 11, Peter, Petros, right? That would be Pentecost. And then right here, in Galatians, before this section here says when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face. But earlier, it states right here, for Peter, for his apostleship to the circumcised, also empowered me, which is Paul, to my apostleship for the Gentiles. So Paul is saying Petros, Peter, is apostleship to the circumcised, while Paul himself was apostleship to the Gentiles. And in his next breath, he says James, Cephas, and John. Now, would Paul, an educated individual, in fact, you could in fact say he is the most educated of all of the New Testament authors, except maybe Luke, who was a doctor and historian. But Paul, would he talk about Peter as being the let's see here, the apostle to the circumcised in one breath, and then in the next breath, in the same letter that he's writing himself, say James, Cephas, and John? Would he say that? Would he talk about the same person with two different renderings of the same name? That'd be confusing, right? Because you look at this. Why would he say, "Oh, Petros is for the circumcised," and then, but when I'm talking to him about James and John, I'm going to use Cephas? It doesn't make sense. And then you have this Cephas here, which comes down to here. But when Cephas came to Antioch, Cephas, I opposed him to his face. It's two different people. Paul was an extremely smart individual. If somebody has the same name, specifically somebody who is a disciple of Jesus, one of the 12, and he's specifically talking about them being the going to the Gentiles or going to the Jewish people, then he's going to turn around and call them by a different name? I don't think so. I believe Cephas, the one in question here, was one of the 70-ish people that were with Jesus from the beginning. The same group of people that were around, that the same group of people that they replaced Judas from. Someone who had been with Jesus from the beginning. You have the 12, and then you have the rest. I believe he was one of the others that happens to be with James and John at that time. And then you have the reason for the rebuke. Cephas was segregating himself from the Gentiles, the uncircumcised. Why would Peter segregate himself from the uncircumcised? He was the first disciple to go to the uncircumcised, to the Gentiles. He got a vision from Jesus of a sheet coming from heaven with unclean and clean animals. And Jesus said, eat. And he also said, don't call anything unclean which I have made clean. And then he goes and sends them off to Cornelius' house. And then he baptizes them and brings them into the fold. So he was the first disciple to break the Jewish tradition of segregation, of the Jewish and Gentile segregation. So why would he do that here? I don't think so. I don't think he's that weak-minded. I mean, he already segregated himself from Jesus one other time. I think he learned his lesson. I mean, he denied Jesus 3 times. He segregated himself from Jesus when he was taken. He's like, I don't know him. I think he learned his lesson. I don't think he would do it again. It's my opinion, but I think it's 2 different people. All right. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.